Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we discuss a Grönefeld 1941 Principia in what may be the most opulent combination of features offered on this highly configurable watch. Now, of course, the 1941 Principia was launched as the Grönefeld brothers' first automatic watch. For Tim and Bart Grönefeld, the horological brothers out of Oldenzaal in the Netherlands, an automatic winder was long on the to-do list, but it is a surprising challenge. And so Andreas Streller, another rock star independent, was asked to contribute his architecture to this G06 movement. With the automatic winding out of the way, customization was the order of the day. A smaller case size, the 1941, was the answer to collectors who wanted something more wearable than the Grönefeld's previous 43 Plus. And so 39.5 millimeters in 5N red gold by 10.6 millimeters thick, 46.7 from lug tip to lug tip, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I said this was the most opulent. So what do I mean by that? Well, on a sterling silver dial base here, we have a lush and lovely cream lacquer with the 5N red gold case and an alligator leather strap. Oftentimes, they'll give you buffalo leather, a base metal case, and a dial that has not been smoothly lacquered, but more of a bare metal shine. This feels luxurious, the way a Rolls Royce is luxurious, the way the inside of a Maybach is luxurious. So while the Principia can be a very sporty watch if you wish, it can also be extremely elegant and upscale. Like I said, the 1941 case describes specifically a smaller case size and a more wearable case shape. At under 47 millimeters lug to lug, this will fit well on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference, so even some ladies will find this is a really good match. It's a pretty flat watch, but with a concave bezel, it also fits easily under a cuff, so it's got a wonderful quality of working well with a formal sleeve, which is something any dress watch should. There are Grönefeld straps in calfskin and buffalo, but this one is a high-grade, large-scale cut of alligator leather, which is always very pricey. Gloss black with a monotone stitch, a sheer cut edge that's been lacquered for refinement. You can see that lacquer leather. And then underneath, round scale alligator. Gator on both sides costs a few $100s more, but increasingly the best straps from the best brands are being spec'd this way. No surprise to find it here. We also have a pull tab spring bar, so you can quickly pop the strap off the case if you wish. And the lugs are drilled fairly close to the case, so to move the pivot centers inboard for a better fit, but also ensure there's no constraint to the motion, the Grönefelds used a curved spring bar. The buckle has a nice fluting in profile. You can see how the lugs, which are evacuated, tapered, and fluted, match the design of the buckle, which is a nice piece of design parallelism. You can see it, like the case, is made by FTOR, which is a Swiss company associated with the Richemont Group. And so if you're wondering why there are Swiss hallmarks on this Dutch watch, that is why. So the case is complex, as you can see. There's a concave bezel, but you also note that there's this swell where the bezel gets a little bit broader and stepped down at 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock. The mid case is polished and rounded, and then we have these sharply mated lugs. You can see where they join the case. It's an incredibly sharp, dramatic break, and they have mirrored hollows that are awesome to look at. We have a Grönefeld branded conical crown with exterior knurling. It's a pleasure to wind. A slightly cambered crystal over that dial. Now, there are guilloche options, there are metallic options, but something about this feels like a perfect match for red gold. Radially arrayed Roman numerals with a watchmaker's 4, fired alpha-style hands at center, and then you can see the little 60 in Dutch orange to remind you that this watch is made in the Netherlands. If you're wondering what is orange about Holland, check out Dutch Corner on Alpe d'Huez in the Tour de France or any football game involving the Dutch national colors, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Now, on the reverse side, I mentioned that Andreas Streller has a hand in this movement, and I don't want to overstate his contribution. He contributes the basic train geometry, which can be very expensive and time-consuming to develop, and this watch was always designed to be something that would be among the more attainable Grönefeld options. So Streller, who also uses this basic movement in the Streller Sirna, contributes an automatic that's a beefy diameter. This is 32 millimeters in diameter, so it's a very modern movement designed for big watches, or at least designed to fill a modern case. We have here a rotor that is, as you can see, no expense spared, 22 carats, not 21, not 18. Note the presence of beveling, satination, media blast, and polish. Quadruple finished. You can see that the ball bearing has solarization. Its screws, like all the screws, are mirror polished, and then the edge of the bearing is mirror finished. We have bridges in steel, and they're triple finished. You can see on their edges mirrored beveling. Then around the periphery of the bridge, you have a satinated raised channel, and then the interior of the bridge, as you can see as you move inboard, it's recessed and media blasted. So let me explain the thinking here, because a lot of people think it's just a flex. It is a flex. It's not easy to finish steel like that. But another reason is that the Grönefelds want to ensure the long-time serviceability of their watches, and they just believe, having seen a lot of service nightmares, that bridges are uniquely vulnerable to mishandling, damage, and warping, which is why the base plate is brass, but the bridges are steel. And the other thing here is that in addition to being stronger and less susceptible to damage, it's easier to refinish if damage occurs. You can reblast a media blast, you can rebrush satin, and you can repolish a bevel, but it's very difficult to fix scratched Côte de Genève. You can't really do that. And these are unplated bridges. That's the other advantage of steel. Stainless steel doesn't need to be plated. It won't corrode or tarnish or discolor, so you don't have to worry about scratching a rhodium plate finish or a ruthenium finish. It's the bare metal in its natural state. Now, it's an automatic winder with ceramic ball bearings for efficiency, a 56-hour power reserve. It's got a 3 hertz beat rate, 31 pivot joules. It's adjusted in an exhaustive 6 positions, which is one more than a standard chronometer. You can see it has a large, massive balance that's free sprung with a full balance bridge. Those two features, free sprung and a full bridge, making it more shock tolerant. And just about everything is finished to the highest degree. There are also some nods to the history of the Grönefelds and the history of watchmaking. Of course, the Grönefelds from Holland. The edge of each bridge, you can see they're contoured to follow the profile of the bell gable roofs of traditional Dutch houses. And then we have golden chaton cups inside of each pivot. So the jewel sits in the golden chaton. This is a nod to the way pocket watches would have been made, when a golden cup would have been precision cut, the jewel pressed into the cup, and then the cup pressed into the bridge. That's how historically pocket watches would have been made. So this is an evocative element, not necessary, but beautiful. You could see a double spoke pattern is used for these unique wheels, which are satin brushed. And then we've got spectacular solarization on the barrel cover. All this 30 meters water resistant. The screw heads are mirror finished. Their slots and circumference have been micro beveled. A truly impressive execution, as is the skeletonization of the balance bridge. Everything about this watch is appealing. So if you want to find dress watch from a brand that has closed its order books, this is the way to get it. You can't order one from Tim and Bart, but this one's available now. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.